Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Welcome to another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this August 11th, 2021. Today we have an incredibly special guest. His name is Michael Stein. He is the original Dirk Diggler from Boogie Nights, but before it was Boogie Nights. He also owns a multi-million-dollar tarp business, and if you're in the Oregon area, you know that somebody's buying those because they're all over the streets. And also, he is a he's a filmmaker and a comedian, and he also hosts a podcast called Long Shot Leaders, which you can find at longshotleaders.com. And he may or may not be helping us with our client later on today. And our client for today, everybody, is Fruit Equals Betrayal. And that's one of my personal issues that we'll talk about later. But for now, we have a sponsor for today. It's a not very well thought out sponsor, everybody. It's basically one that I'm about to make up right now. So this sponsor is My Leg Has a Weird Twitch Air Spray. So not hairspray, but air spray, the things you clean your computers with. So that's the sponsor for today, everybody, and I'm sure I'll forget it in about a minute and a half. But Michael Stein, let's talk about.
Was that off the top of your head just now?
Yes, right now I just came.
My
up with
leg
it.
has a Twitch hairspray. That's that sounds like they got a big budget.
It is
keeping this production alive.
It is. It's
Last
keeping
week
Greg's hair on his head.
Last week I made a soundtrack on a guitar for mine. I thought about it for 2 days and wrote it down, and you come up with that. Come on.
What? Have I ever said that I put any thought into the things that I do? No, I don't.
Both you guys look like you just go through a stream of consciousness, especially Greg over here.
This is essentially what this is. This is.
I'm drowning in the stream of unconsciousness.
We're trying to talk to our guest, Greg, so leave me alone.
Do it.
Strict.
Yes. Michael Stein. So, my biggest curiosity is why you went into a tarp business to finance your films. What made you choose that particular occupation?
It takes place in 1968, before I was born, or just after I was born. My dad's had a business partner. His name was Alan Smith, and they were in a tool business, and it wasn't doing well. My dad went off to go sell calculators. He made millions of dollars, and then a few years after that, he became homeless again with a reckless lifestyle. But that guy, Alan Smith, created a business in 1975 called Harbor Freight. And this was the beginning lesson. Harbor Freight is like a publicly traded company, for those that don't know what that company is. It's a big tool company. And I just saw this rich man, poor man thing. And by the time the internet came out, to flash forward to when I knew I wanted to do something on the internet, I heard that there, somebody which if they niche down for a specialty item, they can make a lot of money. And my dad's like, well, why don't you sell drill bits or sell brace of wheels? Like Harbor Freight, because my dad went back in the tool business after he lost all the money, from that calculator business. And I said, I want to pick out an item, if you ever go to like a hardware store, tarps. And I thought, this is something that is simple. It has a lot of applications. It's colorful, and people will always need them. And also, I was a nightclub promoter, and I used to donate, canned food to the homeless. But if you came to my club, one of my big clubs, and you donated canned food for the homeless, you got it for half price. So I said, I could donate tarps to the homeless, and that kind of fits into the thing that I was doing for many years in the nightclub business. All the things fit. I wish there was something truly romantic that I could tell you, but it was that's what really sparked it. And I said, I'm going to do that. And it just clicked.
So did they use your tarps? Did they use your tarps in the movie American Psycho when they were like wrapping up the dead bodies?
No, I think that was just before my business started. But directed the Batman, Christopher Nolan. He bought a lot of our canvas tarps for one of the Batman movies.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting tie-in, because in your bio it talks about how you promoted the 1989 Batman. So
I didn't even think of that.
You're like connected to Batman in a couple of different layers.
Yeah.
Could you,
Well, yeah. Greg, you had a question?
oh, I was going to say, how did you promote the 1989 Batman movie? I did not read this.
Well, that was Tim Burton. Okay, so my girlfriend in 1988 was Peter Gruber's daughter, and I was like a fish out of water.
Peter whose daughter?
Peter Gruber. He
Famous producer.
Yeah,
Okay.
very good, Greg.
I thought he was somebody who owned Peanuts or something.
Batman. He won the Academy Award for producing Rain Man the year before, and pretty much anything with the name man in it, he produced. No, he produced a lot of big hit movies. He was the most powerful man in Hollywood at that time, and he was getting bought out by Sony, Columbia Pictures, a big takeover. So this Batman movie's coming out. It's gonna be a huge thing. Before that, it was like Adam West. It was not like a big franchise it is today, but it was a big rumbling. Jack Nicholson and all this. So this is in December. I go up to the movie came out in June. It was a big summer blockbuster, and I'm a fish out of water. I just, I'm from Encino. I grew up a poor kid in a rich neighborhood, so I've been around, used to being around being poor and being around rich people, but going to Bel Air and then Peter Guber and then taking private Learjet to Aspen with his family, that was like crazy. And I was really feeling, fish out of water. And then we go out to lunch, the first day, and I see Chris Peters, John Peters' son, who is Peter Guber's partner, who was the producer partner on Batman, Rain Man. It was his producing partner. And we went to high school together. We were acquaintances. And he says, "What have you been up to?" I said, "I've been promoting nightclubs." I said, "What have you been up to?" He goes, "I want to get into promoting nightclubs." And I said, "That's it. That's all I need to know." We sat down, those two families together. When, I was 20-year-old kid, I was confident, and I took the floor and I came up with the concept that there's a big event, the biggest venue in Los Angeles for nightclubs, the Park Plaza Hotel, which fits 4,000 people, and do a big party for the Batman movie coming out in June. And 2 weeks later, lo and behold, I am in Warner Brothers with the head of advertising, and Chris and I were producing this, probably the biggest movie promotional event for a nightclub promotional event ever. I can't think of any 4,000 people at a nightclub promoting a movie.
It's crazy.
It was a big production. I can go on and on. I mean, there was a record label called Delicious Vinyl. Matt Dyke, who's now dead, passed away. It was Tone Loc and Young MC. That was his record label. He was my DJ at that party. There's just so many layers to that event, and so many stars and so many promotional aspects about it that were unique. But that's my Reader's Digest version of the Batman party.
So now your main focus, is that specifically on your business, or is it you're really trying to make a go out of your podcast right now? Because that just started like a few months ago.
I started in March.
Okay.
My main business is, I do both. I'm kind of like, I never really thought I'd have to do one thing or another. You choose that. A kind of, a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, he is a New York Times bestseller on leveraging, on outsourcing. And through the teachings of him, Davin Michaels, I'm able to really kind of adopt podcasting, which is not my bigger moneymaker. My big moneymaker is my business, Abadak, Tarps Plus. So basically, Abadak Inc. is the breadwinner, and my podcast is my passion, and it's growing. And I don't see podcasting as being a time restrictive as maybe for other people, because I could afford to, I don't edit my own shows, and I don't do my own graphics, and I promote it myself. I like to do my own, but that's what I do for my own company, is marketing.
Right. And so when did you decide to get into the whole podcasting field based upon, because earlier filmmaking was your thing. And so when did that kind of fade away?
Well,
was it after Love Hollywood Style?
Yeah. So you have to kind of go back to where it starts in the beginning. So
things generally start at the beginning. That's true.
Yeah. So I do a podcast called, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version here. I do a podcast called Long Shot Leaders for a reason. I come from a long line of long shots. My grandmother escaped the Russian concentration camps. I told you my dad was homeless, and that happened to him. And I was not a planned child. My mom, would tell people, everybody, she's like, I drank, I smoked, I ran up and down the stairs. I'm like, Mom, they just want to know if you want ranch or blue cheese. Can you just give them the order? And I grew up hearing about how I'm lucky to be alive and all that. So I was a basket case. And then little by little, I had a success. I made people laugh, either laughing at me or whatever. And then I had the second success I had was I was seeing the movie Rocky, like most young kids. And I was a really unhealthy kid. I was, I had ADHD, ADD, dyslexia. I had a stutter. I had poor health. But I saw that movie and I said, here's a guy like me. He's not successful. He keeps on trying though. And he's funny. The only difference between him and myself is that he, is healthy. He's physically fit. So every day since then, I became physically fit. And by the time I was 16, I was a physical fitness trainer. And I said, I could do anything now, even though nobody thinks I could still do anything, And so I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 19. And I told my high school tutor, I said, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, an actor, and a comedian. She's like, you should think about working with your hands because not everybody's meant to do what they want to do. And I said, well, screw you. And the day after I graduated high school, I started a tool company to be like my dad, like I Harbor Freight. And I failed miserably like 2 weeks later. And I said,
you failed. Well, how can you call it a failure in 2 weeks though? I mean, 2 weeks. You're
18. It's summer. You just graduated high school. You want to go to the beach, but you're sitting in your parents' house trying to on the phone, trying to make phone sales. And I got ADHD still, and I'm going out of my freaking mind. So
in like, 2 weeks, a 2-week failure. Yeah, I don't know if you can chalk that up to failure so much as boredom.
Yeah. I mean, I made 2 sales within the first hour, and
That's
then I
great.
didn't make it. Yeah, nothing else. I was just
the first hour.
It just wasn't going to be a good fit,
Right, I
sitting
hear
in it. So I took a city college courses. I took drama, psychology, and business. Within 6 months, after I did stand-up comedy, I brought a lot of people there, and it was a good set. And I said, if I could do this, I could bring people to nightclubs, and nightclubs were booming in it was the late 80s. And I started promoting nightclubs. And within the next 6 months, I became the #1 nightclub promoter in Los Angeles for my age bracket because of that hyper attitude, and I love people. And that's how I segued into the Batman party. And then through the Batman party, that same girlfriend I had, I met a guy who was dating her sister. And he was Paul Thomas Anderson, who eventually would direct Boogie Nights. And I drove him home one night. He didn't have a car. He said, can you drive me home? And I said, yeah. So I cracked him up. I had it rolling. You ever have somebody, the more they laugh, the more you just, you're like, oh, I want to get the nose, the orange juice through your nose now. You know what I mean? I really want to, so I was just rolling. And 2 days later, he calls me up and says, you know what? I want to do a short film about the rise and fall of a porno star named Dirk Diggler. And I said, I'm in. So,
and that's when you actually did what your counselor said, which is now work with your hands.
That's right.
And your
because in porn,
I don't know if this is a G-rated show but anyway.
No, this is definitely for fucking kids.
Okay, great. Well, you definitely, it was
older kids,
a real porno thing, but it was like a cross between Spinal Tap and Boogie Nights, So it was a short film, did really well, and from there, I saw him be successful, and I said, I want to be, finally do this. I could see it happening for somebody. It can work. So I wanted to be an actor and a filmmaker. So I started to, I wanted to do a documentary on the LA nightclub scene because I figured I'm promoting. I might as well kind of segue, not waste my, kind of leverage my time, right? Squeak into that. And I packed the Park Plaza Hotel where I did the Batman movie. A year later, I did another 4,000 people directing a documentary on the history of LA clubs. And I said, I gotta do this deeper. So then the rave scene was like going bigger. So then I did a documentary on the history of raves and house music. And that failed though financially. And I said, I gotta learn how to be a better filmmaker maybe. Because I saw my friend, he was, doing well. So I left I started doing underground gambling casinos and I left that business because I said, I can't do the casinos and the clubs. It's not my overall goal. So I'm just going to become a production assistant.
Well, plus, isn't underground gambling like illegal in California?
You think it would be, but we were doing the Mondrian Hotel. You ever hear that hotel?
Nah, but I'll just pretend like I did.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a
It
huge
was a wonderful
hotel.
hotel. I went there hundreds of times.
Okay. Well, it was maybe the Hyatt. We were on Hyatt. It was on Sunset Boulevard, and we had like, it's supposed to be like hotel suites joined together, maybe 90 people. There was like 150 people inside, 300 people outside on the Sunset Boulevard. West Hollywood police get there. They bust us and said, you know what? You do this again in West Hollywood, you're going to jail. But we got like 20 minutes to like gather up everything, gambling tables, everything, and we're out of there. This is before that movie, Molly's Game. And we still did it though in Hollywood and like, West LA. And I
So was
had
Tobey Maguire at your gambling tables?
I don't remember Toby being there, but there was a lot of stars there. I mean, I have a picture of Rodney Dangerfield, David Lee Roth, and Pee Wee Herman.
Whoa.
And that's at our club. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that. So the long story short though, is that I stopped because when we kept on doing it, I got approached by some guy that owned a bar that was loosely related to the Castellano family. And he took pride on wanting to be our partner, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And I said, well, I'm done. So I said, look, man, I just want to be an actor. I don't want to deal with this shit. That's it.
Yeah, that's the right time to retire from
prudent choice.
underground
Very prudent.
gambling.
So it's
like
not the
somebody with
police
a
you have
nose
to
to
worry
the side says, I want to be a partner.
Right. So I became a production assistant. I worked in film production for 3 years, and I learned the ins and outs of filmmaking through working on commercials, because you learn the beginning and end and middle and end of a film production really fast, and you work with the best. So by then I was able to get favors, get some money together that I saved, and other people promised me money. And I did a film, an award-winning short film, half-hour drama called Rituals and Resolutions. It made the second pass the live action short category for the Academy Awards. It won Oberhausen and Palm Springs and got by HBO. Got me close to a movie deal. I met with Jill Silver's office. I met with Trimark Pictures. Trimark Pictures was going to make a script that I wrote about gambling casinos in Los Angeles, right? And after 2 years of development hell, I said, screw this. I can't handle this anymore. Hollywood is like just full of red tape. It's full of bullshitters. I'm going to make my own movie, but I'm not going to make the gambling movie because that's the one that you want to make. I'm going to make a movie that I want to make badly, that nobody wants to make, that nobody would ever let me make, which is about 4 intertwining stories about love and dysfunction in Hollywood. And I called it Love Hollywood Style.
I think I saw that movie because I was watching the trailer earlier today, and I'm like, this seems very familiar to me. But you have a lot of incredibly talented character actors in that movie.
Yeah, we got a 2-time Academy Award winner, Faye Dunaway, also.
Right.
It got huge. It was like, I first just wanted to do like a small film, a small feature. I was going to be like Robert Rodriguez and give blood and do it for $6,000. With El Mariachi, that famous story from the 90s that he did.
Right.
But the budget got bigger, and now I'm like, I wanted a woman to play God. And who else other than Mommy Dearest? So
I think what hurt your movie was having Andy Dick in a leading role, though.
He's a special guy.
He is a special guy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's an eclectic cast, no doubt. Andy Dick was perfect for the role that he played, though, because I wanted Dom DeLuise, but he was dead. So
it's hard to prop him up for that type of thing.
Without some smelling salt and some.
He could be a Weekend at Bernie's Part 3.
You have him like sitting there in limestone so that he doesn't rot.
So Andy Dick plays a porno director, and I kind of like the director in Blazing Saddles, but a porno director. I wanted that kind of character, and I couldn't think of anybody else better than Andy for that. So that's why Andy Dick was so perfect for that role. But he's really nutty.
How was he on the set? Was he a nightmare? I hear he can be very temperamental.
He was fun on the set. Okay, here's a story. So I built this big hell set, in a big warehouse, and he then says, well, I want to use that set too. I said, no problem. Just and I'm a business guy also, though. I started my business. I forgot to tell you the reason why I was able to make this film. I started this tarp business, and within 6 months, I made $500,000, and that gave me the money to make the movie. So I almost bottomed out the business, spending it on this, money on this movie. But I built this elaborate set at a warehouse, and Andy's like, I want to do like this. And he ended up doing this film. I want to do a hell set, my documentary film thing too. Can you keep that, set, open for a while? I said, yeah, no problem. But then we had to break it down because we were paying rent. So then the day comes, he's totally unorganized. He doesn't call me, and then 2 days go by, 3 days go by. A couple days go after that, he goes, I want to do it today. I'm like, okay, well, we're breaking it down today. Andy, I don't know what you want me to do. And he goes, well, don't break it down. Don't break it. I'm like, okay, most people get there at like 6 a.m, right? Because they're going to shoot all day. He doesn't get there until 4 o'clock by like 2 p.m. I'm like, guys, you got to break it down. They start breaking it down. He gets there. He calls me up. He goes, Michael Stein, you're fucking me. You're fucking me. You don't want me to have a hell set because you had a hell set in your movie. You're totally fucking us. Andy, I love you. What do you, why? I thought you were going to flake. I told you it's getting broken down today. You're fucking me. He's whacked out of his mind. So that was the last time I talked to him. Oh, no, but we had a scene at the end of the movie that we had to bring everybody back in a bar because we had a tracking shot to shoot to pass everybody in the film. And I had somebody call them and said, Michael wants to know if you can be there on the last day to shoot. He goes, yeah, tell him I'll fucking do it when I get my fucking hell set. I was like,
when the hell set freezes over, that's when.
That's right. That's nice. Touche.
So when you did PA work, did you do work on the early Paul Thomas Anderson movies? Like, were you on Hard Eight?
No. Paul and I were friends. I was working on commercials. I didn't want to work on movies because, first of all, you don't get paid as much. Hard Eight was more of a low budget film. And I wanted to be in Paul's movies. I didn't want to be a PA in his movies. So I was like, screw it. But also when I was starting to get work in commercial production, you get paid twice as much per day. You get per diem. You work with, I already knew Paul and a lot of the lower budget movie, it's just like, it's a long haul as a PA to work in features. And I kind of already, when you work in commercials, you work with the best DPs, everybody's getting paid more per day. So they want to work that. So when they're not shooting their films, they're trying to shoot commercials because they're getting paid more per day. So
now, you did get a small role in Boogie Nights where you get to play across Don Cheadle, which must have been fun. Although he wasn't as big of a name at the time, but his name was definitely rising then.
Absolutely. And he was awesome.
Yeah. And so did you think about forcing Paul Thomas Anderson to put you in all of his other movies too, as like some kind of
well,
a role?
we had conversations about it,
like you could have done well in Magnolia. You could have been like one of the frogs that fell out of the sky or something.
Yeah, that's right. I do a good ribbit, but it's a longer story. We used to be best friends, but I think he was in a tough situation. He's a young filmmaker, and you're trying to fill every part with a name or a familiar face, so he's freaking out on that. So I kind of understand that. At the same time, you're trying to, show your worth and all that, so it's a tough call. I see both sides of it if I had to play devil's advocate, but working on doing Boogie Nights was awesome, because there were so many great people that came out of that. Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was a really cool guy, and Don Cheadle, who's a craftsman of an actor. So that was really cool. By the time, the other movie, I think the last time I talked to Paul is when he did, just before he did There Would Be Blood. The last movie that Paul and I were friends was Punch Drunk Love.
And then something happened?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What'd you call him? What was the name?
No. It wasn't like that. It was just, I don't think it was a sum of one part. It was just a long, it was like, it was a 12-year relationship, and it kind of, went its course, and
so
did you sell him a faulty tarp?
That's right. I don't really, you don't really know. Sometimes you have friendships that they kind of just, it's not one thing, it's multiple things. And we still have mutual friends that talk, and we might talk again, but right now we're not talking.
When you were on the set of Boogie Nights, did Marky Mark ask you for actor notes? Because it's like, you're the first tickler.
No,
do you have any
he
ideas for
me?
Or?
No, he says, you did a really great job. And, I hope I could do as well as you did, kind of nice stuff, whatever.
I did notice that Marky Mark did use your karate kicks in Boogie Nights that you had originated in the original movie. So
Right.
he should have at least given you credit for that.
There's a couple lines that I improv. Me and Dirt Diggler's story. There's a bodybuilder friend of mine named Eddie Delcor who plays Reed Rothschild, and we improv some stuff. So in the recording studio, I think you better, me arguing to bring up the vocals and bring down the bass. That's improv. That I thought.
Oh, actually, did you do the singing in that?
No, I did. People always ask me that. Did you really sing in Dirt Diggler's story? And no, I didn't. It's just really good lip syncing, and I forgot the name of the band. You Got the Touch. I did it.
I was gonna say, I'm like your voice is so much better than Marky Mark's was in Boogie Nights.
Mark really did the real. It's some rock band. I forgot who sings "You Got the Touch."
You got the touch. You got the power.
Are you like doing
it
this
sounds
for
like
him,
you smoked
Greg?
a couple of those cigarettes, Greg. What?
Yeah.
Greg eats the cigarettes. He doesn't just smoke them.
Boogie Nights is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's top.
You have
3.
no idea how much I have to prevent him from talking about it, like on a regular basis.
I love Boogie. I think Boogie Nights is actually, I think it's one of Paul's best movies in its master.
And I've never seen the Dirk Diggler story. And as soon as we're done with this, I'm getting on YouTube and finding it.
You're going to be very disappointed by the video on YouTube.
No, right? I know what I'm getting in for. I know what I'm signing up for.
I got to hide it from my daughters. My employees sometimes will pull it up and I'll be like, yeah. Okay.
How big is your company? How many employees do you have?
Just about a dozen.
Okay, so it's not like a huge
I used to have like 30, but when you get smarter at business, you don't feel good about having a lot of employees. You want the least amount of employees that you need because you want to have the better return on investment and better bottom line.
So are you doing now what you really want to do, what like really feeds your soul?
Well, yeah, what I want to do is I've always said, I want to be an entrepreneur and an actor and stand-up comedian. Obviously the entrepreneur part, has been more successful than all, since I started that business, it's made over $100 million. So, the business continues to grow. I want to create a product similar. You guys like Yeti? The product Yeti?
The microphone.
No.
Greg does not. Greg barely knows what Wi-Fi is.
A friend has one of those. Now I remember.
The actual abominable snowman is what your friend has.
A Yeti microphone. I've heard of them.
No, not microphone. Yeti is a cooler, and they create these mugs, and they're like they keep things cool.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry for the confusion there.
Yeah,
I think in terms of
brand.
Microphones, because Blue is the name of the company that makes the Yeti microphone.
Blue Yeti, yeah. Not to be confused with Blue Yeti, but Yeti, the company Yeti, the Yeti coolers, they're a $2 billion a year company. And they created their company in 2006 with a lifestyle brand with coolers. My concept is look, we're creating a product right now. Hopefully it will define this industry the same way Yeti defined the cooler. So that's one thing that we're working on. Just now, as my kids are getting older, they're like, okay, we don't need so much time because they're going off with their friends like 15, and 13. So now it frees up my time to where I can get back into filmmaking and acting again. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why I did the podcast, because I'm getting to that level to where a little bit more time as well.
So we just want to start getting the networking going on again in that industry. And it's a different industry now than when you were in it back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, everything's changed now with streaming, and everybody's in a little box now as opposed to on a big screen.
Yeah.
So welcome to your other little box. And this is why you're on our show, is to jumpstart his career, because this is where all of the big names go first.
This is the littlest box.
They go to Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
That's right. Yeah. They come here, and then you never hear from them again.
We've launched a lot of stars.
That's right. Into space.
We're like Ed Sullivan.
Greg is awesome. You guys post your video on YouTube?
Yeah. The show does go on
Greg, you got to keep the mohawk.
Well, it gets cold here.
He goes through phases.
Oh, come on, Greg.
He never shaves it all off. Actually, the mohawk is relatively new. It's just from a couple of months ago.
I do it like every year. Once a year, I get in a certain mood, and I'm like, got to do the mohawk again.
And once a year, I give him a hard time whenever he has the mohawk. Because
he's embarrassed to be seen with me in public.
It's not so much that as it just cracks me up. I just really think it looks like something you shine shoes with.
All right. We quote a line from okay, you can be you, and the right stuff. Like nobody calls me by my name. My name's not Gus or Gus Grissom.
Oh, right. From
Okay, you can be Gus. All right, you can take on. You can get rid of the mohawk when you want it.
Yeah, exactly. But for now, he looks like a pineapple. Anyway, so that actually brings us to the perfect segue for our client for the day. And our client for today is Fruit Equals Betrayal. Now, Michael, at the beginning of this, I said you have an option at this stage of the show where you can do your final plug and talk more about what you want to promote. And you can either stay with us through this client, which will just go for like about another 25 minutes,
Or
you
your
can,
family.
or you can run screaming and spend time with your family.
I guess I will go eat some fruit with the family, and but I will tell you, I do want you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I love your whole vibe. It's too bad I can't meet Mr. Bicker, but I met Quibble and Squabble, so that was good. But I really appreciate it. And we're gonna keep in touch. I gotta find you guys on social. But the way to get a hold of me and to know what we're doing, just go to longshotleaders.com. If anybody has a long shot story, I want to tell those stories. I'm seeking for the ultimate long shot story. That's what we do. We tell a story about people that overcome large obstacles to find success. So if anybody out there, it doesn't have to be monetary success, could be any kind of you survived something or whatever. We've had all kinds of Holocaust survivors. We've had, all kinds of people on the show.
What about people who have not found success and they've been a long shot? Could you do those as well?
Yeah, I kind of,
like all the big failures? Because Greg might be a perfect guest for that.
I feel like the fact that I didn't end up homeless by this point in my life is a success. I thought I would be. As a young boy, I thought, yeah, that's my future.
Your future was like you were going for homelessness?
Being a bum. I didn't want to, but I figured there's nothing I can do.
Not so much of an arc there, Greg. A little bit of an arc. We're just a little bit of an arc. That's all we need.
That's right. You would never be the subject of a film, Greg, but you would be the subject of a documentary.
Give me something to work with, Greg. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I gotta punch it up.
Greg was famous in a couple of bars in Arizona back in the 90s.
Greg was famous at a couple of bars back in the 90s in Arizona?
In Arizona, yes. Yeah, because he was in a punk band back then. He also was a writer for a comic strip that he created. So
I like it.
Greg has a lot of interesting stuff in the background, much more than me. I have nothing interesting.
But I have nothing anymore, though. It's all gone.
No, it's very eclectic back there. You're right. Is that a refrigerator?
Yes.
It's my kitchen.
We're in his kitchen.
But the kitchen looks like it's a book room, kind of. Is that spicy? It's a spice rack.
His apartment is a comic book archive.
I put all this bric-a-brac on that spice rack. It's all these goofy toys and shit. But I'm curious about your background, where it seems like those are all very relevant to you. Like
you have the same stuff on your wall that my 80-year-old mother has on her wall.
Me?
Yeah.
No, Greg does.
Oh yeah.
No, Michael, those pictures.
These pictures back here, these multiple pictures, I call this nouns, people, places, and things. And it's a combination of influential people and certain things in my life. Like that's one of my biggest nightclubs there. It's a long story. We'll get into that. One of the greatest places though is the Van Nuys Theater in Los Angeles, which is an iconic drive-in movie theater. And then Ben Frank's, which is now long gone, a Brat Pack diner that is on Sunset Boulevard. I used to go to all the time when I did clubs. But there's plenty more pictures there. But that's what that's called, nouns.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to get you back on another time, sometime in the future, because we can't do it in the past. We've never been able to figure that out.
Yeah, make a movie, Michael, so we can talk about it.
Well, we're doing a documentary right now on that crazy Love Hollywood style, because we just found the footage of that, and we're doing a concept of it's called Burning the Boats, about choosing passion over opportunity, and what happens there. So we got some big names that are going to be in that, some people that have burned the boats to for their passion.
Nice.
But we're doing that documentary. But if as far as just getting a hold of me, and let you go and do your thing, just go to longshotleaders.com and check us out. And I want to hear of any long shot stories out there. And I thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure. No problem. Thank you for being on. Michael. We're always surprised when people show up anyway. So thank you for that.
Oh, you guys. No way.
Being there. So, you guys. Anyway, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you being here. That was Michael Stein, everybody. And it still happens to be Michael Stein because he hasn't signed off yet, so it'll continue to be Michael Stein until he's gone. Now he's gone. All right.
Now he's not Michael Stein anymore.
Back to you and me, Greg. All right, so
Now
it's
he's
just
the
you and
boy.
me. So here we go, everybody. This is our client for the day, which is sad that Brendan's not here because Brendan could certainly take me to task for this particular ideology
Yeah,
of
because
mine.
this isn't really a client; it's your personal.
It is a client. It is a client of
Weird
mine.
thing.
Yes, I found this client, Greg. That's
And
what
you're
this
the
is
only
about.
one
Fruit.
who knows
No,
this client.
that's not true though. I think many people can agree with me about this. That fruit equals betrayal. And here's why this comes from: is that I have been betrayed by nearly every fruit imaginable with the potential for being really tasty or good or sweet, and you go in to bite it and it lies to you, and it's bitter or it's sour or it's grainy or
What about
it's
a banana?
nasty.
What does
Banana can do it too. Banana can be like, it's probably the better of the fruits out there. So if there's like a hierarchy of betrayal, I would say the banana has been the least of the betrayers to me personally. But one of the top betrayers are apples. Apples have betrayed me so many times. And
Did you get worms?
no, have you ever had like a red delicious apple that's maybe past its ripeness or something? Or
Oh, eat fresh fruit. You're supposed to eat fruit.
well,
when
how
it's
do you
fresher.
know that it's fresh, Greg? How can you tell?
Feel it. You can tell
Yeah,
by
I
the
know, but
feel.
maybe you can't tell by touching the thing. You can't tell till you take a bite out of it.
So you
And
never had
there
a
is the
stale
betrayal.
cookie?
What?
You never had a stale cookie before because you didn't realize the cookies were stale, and now do you hate cookies just
Well,
because were
if
stale?
apples came in a cellophane wrapped container, I would
Yeah.
be less concerned about it because of the fact that it would keep it fresh. But they don't come in those containers.
Pineapple
can't
comes
tell.
in a can. Pineapple comes in a can. It's
I
always
don't
delicious.
I don't eat pineapples from a can. It
They're
also comes with
delicious.
like a sugar syrup too.
That's what makes it good.
That's
nice.
different. That's enhancing it with like some artificial
Yeah,
thing where it's not the real
It's
pineapple.
still fruit though.
And if you want betrayal from a pineapple, damn it, try to eat the center of that goddamn thing. You want
I've
full
never
betrayal? Eat the
Well,
center of a pineapple.
Don't eat the center. That's
You
probably
won't get if you didn't know what it was like to eat it, that's where the betrayal comes in. It's like after that you're tentative. You're gonna hold back a little bit because this weird thing happened to you where suddenly it was like you're eating tree bark,
So I just picture like having you over for dinner, making you the most delicious pork chop, and you're eating the bone and saying, "I didn't know. This is terrible. There's the bone in the middle, and I'm trying to eat it." You should know better. It's not the fruit's fault because you don't know not to eat the
You can have
skin.
boneless pork, Greg.
You can, but if
Yes.
I did give you a pork chop with a bone and you start not eating it thinking, well, this
All right,
isn't as good.
so this doesn't work because of the fact that fruit and animals are totally different. So the fact is that if you're going to use that analogy, it would have to be eating a raw pig. That would be the betrayal part of it.
No, it wouldn't.
And I know what would happen if I was eating a raw pig.
You would die. You get
Would be one
trichinosis.
thing. Yes, get a little case of trichinosis. Maybe get some worms of a different sort. Maybe have a pig squealing and biting you back. Because of the fact, or I guess not a raw pig, but a live pig would be the thing.
Oh,
But I guess
live.
once you pick the fruit from the tree, it's no longer live, so to speak. But yeah, that's the better analogy, Greg. Your analogy with the pork chop, it doesn't work.
No, it's not,
because you can
you're
have
saying
different
basically-
cuts. You can have different cuts of pork.
Yeah, but you would be trying to eat the bone. No, you
But
don't.
if you're like taking a full pineapple, you're the one who's got the pineapple. You know to take the stuff off the sides because we'll actually try to bite that. You're gonna have trouble.
You should know that. Yeah.
You should. It's pokey, and that could hurt being pokey like that. But once you get onto the inside of the pineapple, you think that it's going to be good, right? But then there's the core of the pineapple, which is essentially like eating a plastic straw.
Which most people probably know not to eat, just like the bone of a pork chop.
But not everybody knows. You learn.
you
You also
learn
learn
once.
eating pork chops with bones. The first time you bite a bone, you learn from that point on that you can't eat the bone.
And you learn too not to eat the plastic straw center. of a pineapple. So it was one bad betrayal, and then you should have gotten over it and said, "Hey, from now on."
For that one particular fruit. But there are many, many fruits out there that betray us.
Yes,
Peaches, plums,
they're delicious,
most of the time. And then they betray you.
and then they're
Then
not.
they ruin your day. That's what they do. They ruin it. And then
Just
you're
like-
like, I can't have this again because I will be betrayed again. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, all of them, Greg, all of them betray. You just don't get it.
I don't get it because
You need to get it. It's the truth.
If you had a steak and you let it sit out in the sun for 3 days and it was blue, and you're like, "Hey, maybe it's good. I'm gonna try. It's a steak." You'd learn. No, that's when you don't eat a steak. You don't hate steak for the rest of your life. You're like, no, don't eat rancid,
What the hell?
desiccated
Food. That's not the point at all. You could have
It is.
blueberry. You could have a blueberry in your fridge for 3 days and take it out for 3 days. It's still going to be either a good blueberry or a nasty blueberry, which betrays you.
Yeah, well, you should eat fresh blueberries. It's
like
risk
only
you
eat
take.
blueberries off of the plant. Like that's the
Not
only time you
immediately,
can
I'm
have a
just saying,
goddamn blueberry.
Don't
is
let
what
them
you're
sit
saying.
for 6 days. next
Who's
time.
letting them sit for 6 days?
You
Why
just
would you?
said they were
I'm
in your
saying you
fridge for 3
can
days.
do that. You're the one who's doing this whole montage of things that are sitting out on counters,
But
which
don't
has
do
nothing
that.
to do with fruit betraying you. Fruit betrays you whether it's in the fridge or out of the fridge. It will betray you. Doesn't matter what condition it's in. It will
You know,
betray
man,
you.
Restaurants betray you. So many times I've ordered something that seems so delicious on the menu, it looked great, and it tasted like crap.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean I'm never going to eat a restaurant again. It's just
Well,
that
there might be a
sucks.
restaurant that you won't eat at again because that particular
Exactly.
restaurant betrayed you, so you don't go to
But I'm
that
not going to
one.
give up food. I'm not going to give up that type of food. Like, oh, they made bad pad thai here.
Now,
I'm never gonna eat pad
at
thai
any
again.
point did I say to give up these foods? Did I say to give them
it
up?
Sounds like you have. They betray you, and you seem very bitter against them. Like you have a vendetta against
I'm
fruit.
bitter because they were bitter. I'm bitter because they were bitter to me, Greg. They
Okay.
fooled me, and it's not right.
I think all food can be a betrayal, though.
Yeah,
This
but
food is
not in the percentage that fruit has been. I have not had this form of betrayal with any other food product besides fruit.
You need to talk to your therapist about this. You seem really hurt.
You
by
are
this.
my therapist, Greg.
I guess I am. This is your free therapy.
This is
This
how it
podcast.
is. I'm just trying. I know there's people out there who agree with me, and somebody's going to go, "Yeah, he's right." And that's really the only person I'm talking to, Greg. It's the person who recognizes this rightness, and the
Well,
fact that you are in denial about it just shows why you have that type of hairstyle.
I'm being the devil's advocate here, to be honest, everyone. To our
Oh, so
listeners.
you actually believe me?
No, I don't. It's
Well, then
idiotic
how are you a
reasoning.
devil's advocate then? You're
Because
just the
I don't
advocate
even
for
like
them.
fruit that much. I'm such a junk food guy. Like, yeah, pineapple is always tasty. I would never go and say, I need to have some pineapple. I'm out of pineapple. If somebody gives me a can of pineapple, I'm like, that was pretty damn good. But it's not something that I even like enough to buy myself. I like fruit.
You
when I have
don't
it.
really like much to buy yourself because you eat out of dumpsters.
Yeah, and I get very cheap food all the time. But
Right.
I can
You don't
get
really
cheap
like
pineapple.
splurge for yourself. You don't treat yourself, Greg.
When I do splurge, it's not going to be on a pineapple or delicious apples. You know what I mean? I like them, but I'm not a huge fan of fruit. I never buy it.
Well, a
if
delicious apple is much different than one that betrays you.
I like that was my apple of choice growing up.
You're
I
talking
like
about
delicious.
the red delicious.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
I like those.
They're not just
Those-
called delicious. It's red
That's
delicious.
what
There's
my
an
mom
additional
always
adjective
bought.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mom just called them delicious apples. She never had to feel the need to add another word to it like you
But
do.
that's what they're called. It's
Yeah,
not adding
and-
another word when the word is already there.
So yeah, but she didn't have a lot of time. She was busy raising 4 kids.
She
So
had a
she
lot
had
of time to use the word red.
Yeah. That would have slowed her down.
She couldn't make it out of time.
It was a nickname for Red Delicious. She called
No,
it
it's
Delicious.
the type of apple that it's called.
I know, but everyone knows when you say delicious what it is. It's not a green
No, they
delicious.
don't. You can
or
just
a
say that
pink
it sounds like a
delicious.
good apple. You're saying it's a delicious apple. But when you say it's a red delicious apple, you know that's the kind of apple that it is.
My grocery store just said delicious. I
You've
worked
heard
at
of
the
the
grocery
Granny
store.
Smith apples, right?
Yes.
All
I
right,
have.
well, take the Granny off of that, then you have Smith apples. What do you think people are going to be calling
I
it?
bet an apple aficionado would know what that meant. A Smith. They'd be like, yeah, it's not a John Smith. It's not a. It's obviously he's talking about a Granny Smith apple.
Yeah, but that's the name, so you call it a Granny Smith apple.
Sure.
Yeah, sure,
But
exactly.
people understand if you say
Now language is betraying you, is what the problem is here, Greg.
It's not you are betraying language. No, you're betraying meaning. I'm betraying language, but you're betraying common sense. That people can't figure out a delicious apple. When you say,
well,
oh,
when you say it's a delicious
that?
apple, it doesn't sound like a type of apple. It sounds like somebody really liked the apple, you twit.
I get it. But if somebody says, what type of apple is that? And you say delicious, it's like, okay.
No, it still doesn't come across as the type of apple. It sounds like you're just being facetious and going, I really like that apple.
It could be, but not many
people. It's like
people
a tasty apple. I call it tasty apple, too. That's the type of apple.
Is a taste. No, it's red tasty apple. That's the proper name. Red tasty.
But anyway, what about a durian? What do you think about that?
That's the one that smells like baby diapers, right?
No, I think it smells like corpses.
Yeah, it smells horrible.
Yeah, so that's a general betrayal in and of itself.
But doesn't it taste good, though? People like it.
Some people do, yes. But for the most part, people who try it actually hate it. So
it's the opposite of a betrayal in a way because it smells like hell on earth. And yet some people think it tastes heavenly.
I don't think anybody thinks it tastes heavenly. I don't think I've ever heard it described as heavenly, even from people who eat it. I don't think they call it heavenly. It's more like an acquired taste. It's kind of like people who eat caviar, right? So many people will go, you're eating fish eggs. What the hell? Whereas people who like caviar will go, this is amazing. This is totally enjoyable. So that, I think, is more like an acquired taste type of thing with durian. But if you're thinking durian's a fruit and you've never had durian before.
Never have. Never smelled it either.
I'm just saying a person in general who doesn't really know anything about it. They've just been told this is a fruit. A lot of people like it. You should try it. That would be like the ultimate betrayal, is them going, what have you done to me? How can this be? You're making me eat dead bodies. This is not okay.
I think durian is the most forthright of all the fruits because it actually lets you know by its odor. It's like, no, you're getting into some gamey territory here. I'm letting you know I'm smelling like this.
It's got the highest integrity of all fruit, is what you're saying.
Yes, it does. It's a very it's not duplicitous like the other fruits.
Well, at least you agree with me that those other fruits are duplicitous. That's good to know. I'm glad you finally have come on my side about this. Hallelujah.
I'm just going along with your
insanity. No, I will accept your concession to this particular
tell you
client.
When someone's acting insane, you're supposed to go along with it. Like, yes, the Martians are out to get you, Matt. It's okay.
Yeah, nice backtracking, Greg. You can't get away from it.
No, that's what I was doing. I was going along with a crazy person so they wouldn't get violent.
Because that's where I was heading. I was heading towards violence.
I don't know. You never know with people like you.
People like me. How would you describe people like me, Greg?
Touched in the head a little.
I'm going to get a mohawk now. Actually, I could never get a mohawk, not with my hair receding as much as it is, because you can see right here, it's going bald right here.
You can have the anti-mohawk, just 2 strips on either side.
That's my hair betraying me now. Yeah. Like, once I had hair, and now it's not as much. So there's an additional
I want my
betrayal.
hair to betray me because I like shaving my head almost all the time. I'll miss it in winter when I'm cold. But
how come have you ever gone fully bald?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I've shaved my head many times. Yeah, that was my hairstyle of choice when I lived in Arizona, which was kind of dumb because the sun would be giving me sunburn on my skull. But I always liked having no hair.
Oh, never shaved my head. I've never really done much for my hair other than let it grow and then cut it. That's pretty much.
Because you were a prog rocker and I was a punk rocker.
What's that got to do with anything? I wasn't a rocker at all. I wasn't in a band.
No, but you were in that scene. You liked it. I
like lots of things. Except fruit. Fruit betrays you. fruit betrayed.
You see, now you're admitting it. You have this thing against fruit just because it betrayed you a few times.
Yeah, it's right. I have a problem with fruit betraying me. I would like it not to. I've eaten it plenty of times, obviously, to know that it betrays me more often
Haven't
than not.
girlfriends ever betrayed you? Have you given up women?
I don't think I've ever had a girlfriend betray me. I don't know what I would consider betrayal whenever it comes to a girlfriend.
Well, in the same sense of fruit, where, I thought I was getting this, and then I get that.
I don't think I've ever gone into a relationship with a lot of expectations.
Oh.
It's more like, let's see how this turns out type of thing, which I don't want in my food. My food, I want to be relatively standard and to conform to things that, of tastiness. Whereas with humans, you never know what you're going to get. Like Forrest Gump says, they're like a box of chocolates. Sometimes they have a crunchy frog inside of them.
Yeah, that's what Forrest Gump said when he was on Monty Python that time. Yeah.
I had to combine.
When he was a guest. But I've met.
Wait, you said Freud was a guest on Monty Python? I think there is a Python skit.
No, Forrest Gump.
Oh, Forrest Gump. I thought you said Freud.
Yeah, but when I've met women that I've known for years, even before.
Wait a second. You've met women that you've known for years? That doesn't even make any sense,
after a while,
Greg.
I met them,
and then you knew them for
passed,
years.
And I ended up knowing them for years, and then we started dating, and all of a sudden, that red delicious apple had worms and a tarantula inside of it, and it's like, wait, I never saw any of this side of this fruit. And someone's gonna say I'm really sexist for saying a woman's a piece of fruit now.
Yeah, sure. We don't get any audience comments, Greg. Nobody's gonna say anything except for maybe your sister might say something.
So to me, women are just a piece of fruit that sometimes they look all tasty and then they betray you.
So for you, women are betrayal.
No, but they have, as far as what you consider betrayal, where I thought she seems so like this. And then you start dating for a few months, and it's like, what? Where did this personality trait come from? I never saw.
I just never. I don't think I ever experienced that. I never experienced somebody being horrific to me. I've experienced personality traits that didn't mesh with mine, but I didn't experience like really bad behavior per se. I mean, I've had many long-term relationships, and that's probably why.
Yeah. Well, at first, though, did it turn out where, like, they seem like this, and then you realize, they're not exactly that. They've got other sides that maybe aren't the best.
I think I'm not that naive, Greg. I'm not that naive to think that they don't have a bad side to them. Oh. No, I'm not saying a bad side. Naive. I'm saying, complete, like you couldn't even see it gleaming from meeting them and knowing them for months. That it's going to turn into this. I never saw them talk like that. I never saw them be that mean spirited. I met a woman, and she kind of basically just said, "Okay, we're dating now," and she just
for the
told
first
you
2
we're
months,
dating, and you went, "Okay, I'm not naive."
We had sex. And I liked
glad
her a
you
lot.
did at some point.
I wanted to date her. But I didn't want to be the guy who's all like, we had sex once and I love you, and scare away. But then she was like, you're my boyfriend now. Obviously, we had sex and we're hanging out. So, that's the way it is.
Oh, so the issue is essentially that she's running your life because you were
I was glad though.
Manipulated.
She wasn't manipulating me. I was really in her. Like I was like totally enamored of her.
You were having sex, then you were definitely in her.
No, the chemistry was amazing, and then I was really enamored of her personality, and she was really smart and funny. And then after 3 months of dating, she just became this, like, she'd be mean to me all the time. I never saw that side again. It was like she just became this. I don't think that's naive. I had no idea. Like, it's not like other girlfriends have done that to me. Like, they all become mean.
Okay.
But sometimes, like a delicious apple, a red delicious apple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's surprising. It's like shit.
So she would turn psycho on you, but what do you attribute that to?
Not psycho, just mean. And I think it was basically just because she was disappointed in what a crappy boyfriend I was, probably, and was like.
So maybe she was betrayed by you. And that's what
I'm sure
caused
she
that.
felt that way.
She
I'm
was
sure
like,
she
he
was
seems like this really nice guy, and I think we could have a future together. And I found out that the whole burger flipping thing really is the extent of his
Exactly.
ambition. And there's nowhere else to go. And then she turned mean to basically drive you away, possibly.
I think so.
Did it work?
Well, she broke up with me after like a year or two, and then I was like, "Yeah, I get it, because this isn't fun for me either."
Wait. Hold on. Let's back up a second. So you said after 3 months she was mean to you,
Yeah,
but you stayed together for another year.
yeah, I was crazy about her. It was pretty what's the word, codependent or weird. Like, she wasn't very nice, but I was so in love with this
Or
woman.
masochistic, possibly.
I never was like that before. In my 40s, I meet this woman, and for the first time, I'm like, I just love this woman so much. I find, like, I understood pop lyrics for the first time in my life. Those sappy lyrics. I was like, oh, that's what love's supposed to feel like. That dopey.
You should have listened to Tina Turner, Greg.
I know.
What's love got to do with it?
Or listen to
what's it got to do with it?
Bread. Or the Carpenters.
Baby, I'ma want you.
Well, not that one. But I should have listened to sad, like, Janis Ian songs or something. But so
at 17,
and then we ended up staying
in
together.
Your 40s?
Like, even though we weren't technically dating, we still basically had sex all the time, and we hung out every day for another 3 years after that. So it was almost like she just didn't want to be hitched to my to my wagon.
Your star?
My hitch to my wagon heading towards a star. Is that the phrase?
Wagons don't actually go into the sky unless you throw them. Like, if you put them on a trebuchet, then your wagon could head to the stars, but there's an arc and it's going to fall to the ground and crash and shatter.
No, this wagon is on a starship, obviously, a generational starship, and that can reach another star.
Your mind is a generational starship.
That sounds like a compliment, actually. It's taking the world into the future. My mind. It
is, Greg. Even though at least you could recognize that fruit is betrayal, though. So I'm glad that we've been able to give our client sufficient cause for truth and justice in the American way today.
I'm really worried because I'm out of sake and I don't know what to do.
Well, obviously, you need to lick the bottle. I thought that someone had... Look, all of you out there whose like ambitions are to be homeless, that is what you'll look like in 30 years if you're 20 years old currently.
I still have a home, a very beautifully decorated home, as you can see.
Yeah, I mean, our guests noticed it too.
Yeah.
You notice the stuff on your walls. But yeah, my mother used to have like one of those little bric-a-brac things on the wall where she kept her strange little objects.
Hummel figurines.
It could be any type of figurine that you want. Is a Hummel figurine something in particular?
Yeah, they're like, all grandmas love those cute little, like, porcelain.
Oh, okay.
Like, cute little kids.
Well, she's not my grandmother, so I don't call her that. I call her my mother, but she's certainly a grandmother to my children.
But I mean, I have Vanilla Ice gum up there in the shape of a cassette. I have just all these random things I've gathered since I was
Vanilla Ice gum in the shape of a cassette?
Yeah, there was this company that made little, they looked like little cassettes this big, and they had gum in them, and then the cover looked like it would be a rock star. It'd be MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, whoever was big in 1989 or something.
Vanilla Ice is his own form of betrayal.
So I should eat the gum right now. I could probably get a buzz from that gum. It would probably do something.
Well fermented or really hard on the teeth.
Yeah, I could suck on them. And
it might be a little dense for chewing purposes. Yeah. All right, well, I think we've come to the end of this particular episode, so I want to thank everybody who's stuck around to listen to us just go off on tangents here at the very end.
Hey, everyone, fruit is good. Don't listen to that. Fruit is a good thing.
You can still eat fruit. I'm not telling anybody not to eat fruit. I just want everyone to, this is like a public service announcement. You should know that fruit will betray you at one point, if it hasn't already, and it probably has. You probably have been betrayed by fruit at this point in your lives, people. So you all know I'm speaking sooth, and it is sooth. It is. But that has been our client for today. I want to thank Michael Stein, who was on earlier. He was quite an interesting fellow with the podcast Long Shot Leaders. And if you want a tarp, if you're a serial killer out there and you need something to wrap somebody up in, buy them from him too. This has been, once again, the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. And hopefully Brendan will be back next week. We'll see. Bye.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!